I'm back, and this is the state of the Cowboys 2025 pre-draft. So this was Tuesday 22nd when this interview came out. I watched it yesterday, Wednesday. And so this is the pre-draft presser with Steven, Will, Jerry, and Shoddy. So I will say I am disappointed. I did want Shoddy to talk a lot more. I can't say I'm surprised. Jerry Jones took over the interview, which is fine. So some of the highlights real quick. I just want to go through this quickly. So Jerry Jones said they didn't put up the board yet. I'm like, what? You didn't put up the board yet? The draft is in 2 days, sir. Obviously, it's not that the board isn't put up. It's not that they haven't worked on it. It's just apparently the reason they haven't put it up. And again, I think it's a lie or a deception. They might not physically have it up, but they know who the guys are. I think that's draft jargon. Sometimes what happens around this time is teams will go into this mode of speaking specifically. So they'll really, really like a guy, or they'll really, really not like a guy. So call it draft jargon. Okay, so one of the reasons that Jerry Jones said they haven't put up the board yet. So he was talking about Shoddy's staff. And he sounded like he was a bit shocked that Shoddy had them prepared and empowered to speak up. Because he made a comment like it hasn't been like this before. So apparently this is something new for Jerry. Now again, I don't know if this is coach talk. I don't know if this is media talk. With Jerry Jones, it's very difficult to find the line between what's real and what's not. It's real until it isn't, it with Jerry. And then, so you have to kind of read it between the lines, but then take it with a grain of salt as well. And so he did sound surprised, talking about the new staff, just talking about their empowerment, how comfortable they felt, how much they wanted to battle for players, which I love that. Again, Jerry said it hasn't been like that in a long time. And so I love that. I love that the coaches are wanting to speak up about the players. At least we know that we're going to get players that fit our scheme. At least we know that there is a scheme, there is a vision, right? And so, of course, and there needs to be a Jerry Jones bingo. You don't get Jerry Jones talking about the draft without them quoting that they're one of the best drafting teams out there. But there's a rub. There's a rub, and it's coming. He also says he doesn't make the decision about the player. This is talking about the draft. He doesn't make the decision about the player. It's been made cumulatively. He's a tiebreaker at the most. Now, in recent years, we could probably say that's accurate. He's a tiebreaker. Everyone speaks to the Johnny Manziel fiasco, but I'm sure there's been other players where they probably talked Jerry off the ledge. Someone asked about corners. I believe it was Kyle Yeomans. He asked about corners. Shoddy, he said it's about ball production, ball skills. We're looking for press man corners. So we're going to be in a man-ish type front, at least what we expect our corners to play initially. Now you can still have man and zone. So we probably could be playing press coverage, but still be in the zone scheme. Now, we can do press coverage in a zone scheme. So I'm trying to figure out if we're going to be doing what's kind of happening here. That was pretty interesting. He also said size didn't matter, and then is about more technique than style. That's interesting. I'm keeping my eyes on it. I'm keeping my thoughts aware for this draft coming up. And then Steven Jones had the nerve at some point at this time in the interview, to say that they had a better offseason this year than last year. A better offseason than last year. Wow. You don't say. How insightful. I thought this was funny. It was kind of a rub, but I mean, come on, really? I watched Vach's video yesterday where he and Brian Broaddus reviewed the conference, and he made a point about, man, Jerry Jones sure saying O-line a lot. So when I watched it, he said O-line a lot and referenced a lot of times where O-line saved him in drafts. So keep your eyes on the swivel for offensive line. I mean, that's just a realistic guess. I mean, when all else fails, the Cowboys love to default, and their default choice is offensive line. That's just where they're comfortable. So, pretty much in a nutshell, this team has a lot of holes. Defensive line, receiver, running back, defensive end, defensive back, O-line. We need all of it. All of it can help. We need all of it. So, in this draft, honestly, they do need to hit. So, let's take a look at the last 5 drafts and see what some tendencies are. So, basically, every year they've had an All-Pro, a Pro Bowl player from their previous draft. So, Jerry Jones isn't necessarily wrong. I mean, in 2024, 7 out of the 8 are still on the team. There's no Pro Bowlers yet. This is their second year. To be fair, the picks become Pro Bowlers or All Pros in their second or third seasons, not in their rookie season. So Jerry is still kind of right. There's only been one bad draft class, really, and it's 2023. But it's due to injury and, of course, the other draft picks not panning out as we like. And I don't even think we even like that draft class that much, or even knew who was even in our draft class that much. And so 2023 was really the only, you could say, bad draft class, because there was no All Pros, no Pro Bowlers, nothing. And then as far as what the history of the Cowboys draft, that was a bad draft class. But in the totality of just the 5 years, they still did really good. I mean, a Pro Bowler every year from the previous draft class, I mean, that's difficult. Like, Pro Bowlers are difficult, and then All Pros on top of that. So they've had almost an All Pro every year after the 2020 draft. For this, every year, the next season, they've had a Pro Bowler from that previous draft. So that's hard. There's only a couple of slots for that. But I think it's just the depth of the draft is just kind of where the Cowboys have slipped a little bit. Not in totality, I don't think, because a lot of their younger players are still growing and developing. So we shall see about that. If we go by running totals, in the last 5 years, we drafted 9 offensive linemen, 8 corners, 6 defensive tackles, 6 linebackers, 5 defensive ends, 5 receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 quarterback, 1 running back. So you can see that from these splits, you can see why our skill position on offense is dwindling, why it's not good, because we have not invested as much as the other positions. But then you can also see here, if you look at the numbers, the Cowboys in the last 5 years have not been good at drafting defensive tackles. We have one of those, I believe we only have one of those that are still on the team right now, and it's Osa. So defensive tackle has been our 3rd most invested in unit in the last 5 years, and we have not hit. So I don't know if it's the if it's our draft, team or what, but we have not hit on our defensive tackles. Corners make sense as to why we had so many good ones, is because we literally kept throwing bodies at cornerback because our cornerback room was terrible for a long time. Offensive linemen. Now, this is interesting. So I was thinking that we were only putting a moderate amount of effort into the offensive line. Offensive line has been our most invested position, and maybe that's been a detriment to this team. Maybe that's been one of the reasons why we're not better, is because instead of maybe getting the best player, and it might be a receiver, it might be a defensive end, it might be a we get the linemen. We put the linemen higher up. It seems higher up priority as the skill guys, which is fine because you do need offensive line, but it just hasn't panned out, right? So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Cornerbacks, that split makes sense. Defensive tackles, that shows me a lot. Linebackers, that makes a lot of sense. But then that also shows me a lot. So basically, we know our weaknesses, and we've been drafting to improve them, but we just have not hit on those players. So maybe this regime will have a different idea of what we need or what we need to draft. 5 defensive ends, 5 receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 quarterback, 1 running back. The 1 running back thing is crazy to me. From the splits that I'm looking at here, if our board gets completely wiped out, so let's say we're at 12 and there's nothing there, chances are we take an O-line. If our flashy pick isn't there, if our skill guy isn't there, if our defensive guy isn't there, I think we take O-line. So I think O-line is our default place. So basically what I'm saying is we can know if they've been wiped out on the board if they just choose O-line. That's their default. That's how we know the Cowboys are wiped out at a position. They don't know who to get. They don't know what skill person to get, or maybe they're not comfortable. I think that's what this tells us. Again, this is my hypothesis, right? The thing as a draft nerd I always want to see is like, what kind of players do our coaches like? Because then that helps me know, okay, this is who we're going to be looking for. This is who I can eliminate. So Schottenheimer kept it vague in the pre-draft. So I went in and I just went to his most recent. I know we know that he coached for the Jets, but that isn't going to matter. The NFL has changed so much since then that these are completely different offenses. So in defensive schemes now, not different, but they look different. They're structured different. And so what I did was I went to his last job and see what offensive players they drafted to see if that helps. So in 2018, his first year as Seahawks offensive coordinator. He drafted Rashad Penny in the first round, Will Dissly, and Jamarco Jones. He drafted DK Metcalf in the second round, Gary Jennings Jr., Phil Hayes, Travis Homer, John Ursula, and then in 2020 he drafted Kobe Parkinson, DJ Dallas, Freddie Swain. So, just to let you know, they did go to the playoffs all 3 years. They had slippage in the offense the third year, but he did beat Kyle a few times. You can take it with a grain of salt. 2 out of 3 years, the 49ers were bad, still building. But 2 out of 3 years, their running game was top 5, at least in rushing attempts and rushing yards. So honestly, for Dak, that's probably the best thing. So we know that he's going to run the ball. So honestly, that did not help at all in painting what kind of guys. They really honestly didn't let Schottenheimer bring in his guys. They kind of just had guys already I think this is going to be the first time in this new era where Brian actually gets to have his own guys and structure it the way he wants to and run the offense the way he needs it to run. So that alone right there is exciting. For me personally, as a Cowboys fan, I'm totally trying to have a eagle view of all the teams, not just this one. But since this is my primary team, this is going to be my first video with them. So I do plan on doing the other teams in the league. This is just the easiest one for me to cover because I've been with them for so long. But for me, the excitement comes from Joe Milton. That was the most exciting offseason thing besides getting Clayton Adams. Because Dak has shown that he is injury prone. I mean, same thing with Tony Romo. And that's a story for another day. But as far as it goes, we might win 7 games. We're third best in the division. at least. And I think there's room for improvement. I think this team can be better than last year. I'm just excited to see what this team is even going to look like, because it's going to take half the year anyway for this team to even find an identity, maybe even the whole year to find an identity. So this first year isn't anything but growing pains. So no one should expect anything crazy. We should all have expectations that we want this team to compete. We want to see how this team fights, how they prepare, and if we stay close in some of the games against the really good teams. And if we can beat a really good team, if we can beat the San Francisco, I'm not sure what our schedule is, but if we can beat a playoff contending team and not make the playoffs, I would be okay with that for this year if the team is competing. So thank you for your time. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Like, comment, subscribe, do what you do. Thank you. Peace.